Welcome. This is Kristen Crabtree with the Lance Edwards Group. We have a special treat today. We're interviewing a new apartment champion who is here to share his story about how he closed on his first multifamily deal since getting started with Lance's system. Please help me welcome Jessie. Say hi,
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to start with just an overview of the facts of his first deal. So it was 8 units, and he did have some prior real estate investment experience, which I'm sure we'll talk about. His mother owns rental real estate, and that's what got him started. His profit strategy for this first deal was a rehab and hold. It was located in Rhode Island, which is also where he is. He found it off market through a real estate agent, and the price was good. He invested $80,000 of his own money into the deal. It was owner financed, and the property did need some work. His profit earnings was $859 per month. Does that sound like I've summarized well, Jessie?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So before we get started, share with me a little about your personal and professional background.
Okay, so my professional background, I actually work for a federal land management agency. I do community outreach, which involves basically sharing information with people who live in cities about nature, the importance of nature, the benefits, and essentially why the agency I work for is relevant to them, even though they themselves may never actually, visit one of the lands that's managed, or they just live in the city. And so my personal background, I grew up in Louisiana. My mother has rental properties there, and I've invested with her as well. And just had a real interest in being able to both supplement my income from my 8 to 5, 1040 job, and as well look for that opportunity to transition out of that line of work into something that's, self-employed, a lot more freedom, a lot more flexibility.
Okay, great. So why did you specifically start researching and pursuing multifamily investing?
So I actually moved to Massachusetts in 2008. And at the time, and moving there from Oklahoma, the the housing market was quite different, certainly far more expensive than Oklahoma. And so it just made sense to offset my housing costs with an additional rental unit. And so once I started looking into it, it just made sense to go with a 3 family actually versus a 2 family. So that's what I ended up doing. And the first time I stepped out on my own and invested in a rental property was a 3 family.
Okay, and that was back in 2008-ish.
Actually purchased in 2009.
Okay. Okay, so that was all pre-Lance.
Yes.
Okay. So what were you trying to solve by getting into real estate investing?
Um, the mostly income, it's really, I guess I would say it was more of a lifestyle situation because, with the 9 to 5, it was pretty much, work, home, back to work, and there really wasn't a lot of disposable income available. And so I really was looking to solve that problem more than anything else.
Okay, so you just mentioned not having a lot of disposable income before. What was your overall financial situation like before you began investing?
Um, I would say overall it was stable. I was saving for retirement. I had enough money to essentially live comfortably and also help family members. But at the same time, I recognize that to really sort of reach my retirement goals and not necessarily have to live paycheck to paycheck. That I really sort of needed to figure out a way of increasing my income without necessarily taking on a second job. And and also real estate offered the opportunity to reduce my taxes in a sense. So it just sounded like a win-win opportunity.
Okay. Do you have a specific financial goal?
I did at the time. Right now, I would love to essentially transition out of my 9 to 5 and do real estate full time.
Okay, good. So what would being able to do that do for you? Like how would that change things for you?
Um, well, again, I think I hope I would gain more time, a little bit more disposable income. And I think it would give me a little bit more time, well, a lot more time with family. Um, I think it would just be overall happier, healthier. And because I think most people who have worked a 9 to 5 and have experienced a coworker retiring will can relate to the fact that you see that coworker or the former coworker a year or two later, and they are look a lot more rested, healthier, happier, and when I was growing up, it wasn't necessarily a financially stable situation that I was in. So I was witnessing my mother, struggling to pay the bills. You know, didn't really understand it as much as I do now, but I recognized really quickly that I don't want to be in that situation when I grow up. And so, that really was my motivation in making sure that yeah, I definitely need to be able to cover all my bills, but I also want to be able to take those vacations and just be able to afford the basics as well as all necessary repairs to vehicles, house, stuff like that.
Okay, great. So what is your ultimate dream?
Ultimate dream would be to own a few more properties, to be able to, I guess, oversee, manage those full time if I don't get a management company. Didn't have the best experience with the last management company I had here in Rhode Island. In fact, I'm still trying to get away from them actually. And just I think I'd just be a lot happier just doing real estate, doing something that I feel I'm more passionate about now than um, I am with my current job. And it's not to say I don't like my current job. I love my current job. In addition to paying all the bills, I actually do enjoy going to work. But for me, having that opportunity to interact with my tenants, to sort of know their story, to um, uh, help them in a sense, provide safer housing and to be able to do that and to have a hand in that, I feel is an accomplishment. And I guess I'm one of those people who like to see that accomplishment, um, that improvement over time. What have I actually done, built? How have I helped with my own two hands? I love that feeling, and at the same time knowing that I'm making money. At the end of the day, I have a positive cash flow, and just keep building from there. So would love to, I hate to say a number, but would certainly love to have quite a few more properties under my belt.
Okay. And in what ways are you hoping real estate investing would change your life?
That is a very good question. Um, I would say that to change my life, how it would change my life, again, having the additional disposable income. Now, do I necessarily think I'll be a multimillionaire doing The level of real estate investing I'm looking to do, not necessarily. I might own that much in real estate, but as far as having that disposable income, just being able to be comfortable, to have all of the things that my family needs, and to be able to also support my extended family where I can, is really important to me. And I think real estate investing really is the vehicle that I can accomplish that with.
So you talked about your first triplex, I think it was in 2009. So obviously you started real estate investing and multifamily on your own. Where did you get stuck? Why did you reach out to Lance?
It was mostly because after purchasing my first property, and actually pulling from my retirement to do that. So borrowing from my retirement, I didn't actually pull any money, actually withdraw money from my retirement, but borrowed against my retirement fund to purchase that property. I realized I couldn't continue to do that in order to get additional properties. And so I essentially realized, okay, I need someone who has far more experience and the knowledge to provide me with the tools to look at how I can um, build my real estate portfolio. And so I did the typical things that people do. I joined the local real estate investors association. Was learning from those folks. Unfortunately, a lot of the folks I feel there were kind of in the same situation that I was in. So a lot of the discussions within the group were how to deal with tenant issues, how to deal with contractor issues, and things like that. And so then I started looking beyond my local association, looking for someone who could provide that additional knowledge.
You have mentioned family. Was your spouse on the same page as you about getting into investing?
I wasn't married at the time. I only got married back in 2019, and so, but she's been very supportive. She recognized that I was a landlord, and that came with a lot of responsibility, and has been very supportive. She's a partner with me on the 8 units that were purchased, and so she understands. In fact, tenant called last night with an electrical issue, and thankfully I was able to get it worked out over the phone. But she was just starting dinner, and it was one of those situations. But I'm totally supportive of me moving forward, both with that property and with looking at additional purchases.
Great. So what obstacles did you face when you got started? And that can be, got started as far back as 2008 or, transitioning to work with Lance, however you want to answer it.
Obstacles are always, figuring out the funding, figuring out the down payments. And, even with the 8 unit, the owner offered that property. Actually, the owner was offering 4 properties at the time. Unfortunately, I was only able to move forward with 2 of those properties. And the real estate agent I was working with was only aware of 1 of the properties at the time. So, being able to go in with the knowledge that Lance provided, and having, a decent understanding of how to use most of it, I was able to work out a deal where I was able to purchase those 2 properties. Um, but yeah, that was one of the challenges. One of the challenges was not fully understanding one of the one of the tools that he teaches about, and I'm trying to remember exactly what that was, where you would control the property but not necessarily own it. So when purchasing the 8 units, and not being able to pursue the other 2 properties because the owner wanted a 15% down, and that was just far more than what I was able to bring to the table. And reaching out to get a partner, finding a decent partner is another challenge. And the partner who I was talking with I met him through a Lance Edwards event. And so we were continuing to stay in contact, and we're looking for properties that we could possibly partner on. I brought this one to the table. He actually came out and looked at it from another state and ultimately decided not to move forward, as a partner on this. So I just continued to move forward on my own. So those were some of the big ones. If I feel now, if I had known that how to utilize that technique, that instrument, and so I would be able to purchase the two properties that I could afford the down payment on, but also approaching the owner about, maybe I can do, I wish I could remember the term, but if I could basically lease the properties from him with the option to purchase in the near future, I feel I probably would have um, had the full 16 units right now that I was looking at.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So sort of a lease option type of thing.
Yes, the lease
Oh,
option.
gotcha.
The lease option. So yeah, so I was aware of it. It did not come to mind when I was negotiating the deal. And it was only later on that it was like, oh, I had all the information about the lease option, and it never even crossed my mind to apply it.
Okay. So why did you stick with real estate investing when you faced these hurdles?
It just drew me in. I mean, it's I don't know how to describe or answer that question beyond that. There's just something about real estate that learning about real estate, learning about all of the different techniques and tools that are out there that excites me. And, um, so I think real estate investing excites me more than anything else.
Great. I do have a question from some information you gave us earlier. So your first investment property was the triplex in 2009. So what was your real estate investing like between 2009 and when you connected with Lance? And how long ago did you connect with Lance?
Hmm. Actually, I don't remember exactly when I connected with Lance. I want to say it may have been 2014, 2015, somewhere around in there. And before then, I pretty much just had the three families. So I wasn't really investing. I was window shopping, but really, recognizing that, I didn't know how to access additional funding to, pursue additional purchases at the time. I really just felt sort of stuck as a result of that. So yes, I did again latch on and to Lance's information, his programs, and learn a considerable amount, and then move forward from there. And then after uh, going through Lance's training, I moved forward with connecting with my mother and my brother and buying two duplexes, and looking at, again, how we can buy additional properties there as well. And then later on in um, 2019, purchasing the 8 units in Rhode Island.
Okay, awesome. So how has investing in real estate impacted other areas of your life?
Hmm. Um, well, there was certainly a an amount of time that needed to be invested up front in both acquiring the properties and doing repairs and things like that, and ultimately getting to the point where things are running a bit more smoothly, um, and again going through the property manager and realizing that that wasn't working, and then transitioning back out of that. So there's definitely that added time commitment to that, and investing that time commitment. And but then after that, I would say you know, I am getting that time back, definitely getting the cash flow coming in. And so, my wife and I have been able to do some traveling and now looking at replacing a vehicle. And so, it's really nice to have that additional income.
So, my next question was going to be how your current financial situation has changed as compared to when you started. And you've already answered a little bit of that. Is there anything else you want to add to that answer?
Not really. It's the properties have been very helpful in shaping, the future of our financial situation. And so we're really excited about that. And yeah, that's all I could think to say about that one.
So, what does excite you about the future and the possibilities that it holds?
That real estate investing holds.
Mhm.
Well, I know there's a tremendous potential, even with the increased prices now. Here in Rhode Island, rents are keeping up with prices, and so there's still the opportunity to make a decent profit with the increased prices. It's just, um, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. Like what excites you about the future as a result of real estate investing?
As a result of real estate investing, so I would say that just recognizing that we're going to be able to build our, expand our family, and be able to set aside fund money for college funds, and be able to cover the expenses and everything that we have for our basic living, and um, just sort of knowing that that mailbox money, in a sense, is going to be there. Um, that's really exciting for us.
Great. So, what did you hope would happen that hasn't?
By now, I would have hoped to have had more units under my belt, but that's okay. I think the model of investing that I'm utilizing, is not the hurry up and get a bunch of units under my belt model, which is I'm perfectly okay with, and I applaud those who are going growing leaps and bounds in their investing. And I think that's really exciting too. I'm excited to even see that happen, right? But for me, it's really just exciting to um, I don't know. It's just exciting to see that I have the units that I have. There's the potential to continue to grow that, and and that I have the knowledge and to in fact grow that my business.
What has happened that surprised you?
Hmm, hmm. Oh, that's a good question. Something that surprised me. Actually, I'm actually surprised that my wife is as excited about real estate now, because she also window shops, and and we'll be driving down the street and she'll be like, "Oh, look, there's a property for sale," and I'll mention to her like, "Yeah, that's nice, but I prefer to get them before they're listed," and so and then she's has also mentioned, "Hey, I have a friend who's thinking of moving, and they might be looking to sell their property." So I mean, I think that's really exciting. But it's one additional thing that um, my wife and I are both passionate about, in addition to everything else that drew us together. And so that was a definite surprise for me.
Okay, great. What strengths do you possess that you feel maybe made this endeavor easier for you?
Communication, I think, is a really big one, and being able to be personable with people. And I think that So that was applied in when I contacted the real estate agent, who I basically found online and made a bunch of calls. And she was one of the agents that got back with me. And so I sat down with her, had the initial conversation. And through that conversation, she was comfortable enough to say, I know someone, who I'd like to introduce you to. They actually have a current listing, and let's see where things go from there. And then from there, having that conversation with the seller's agent and the seller, for the seller to then open up about the fact, well, I'm thinking of selling 3 additional properties that are not listed right now, and would you be interested in those? To the seller even saying, I'd be willing to consider owner financing. And so I think just being able to have that conversation and make those connections with people is important, especially even in building your network, finding potential partners, and so on and so forth. So I think that's a really important strength, to be able to both connect with people on a personal level while doing, your your professional thing.
Absolutely. What personal characteristics worked against you in the beginning?
Potentially openness. And so I was warned by another investor that real estate investing can be pretty brutal, pretty backstabby, cutthroat. I haven't seen cutthroat, but even on this investment, the the owner mentioned that they would be willing to do a gentleman's agreement on the 2 properties I wasn't able to purchase at the time, even though they then moved forward with selling those properties to someone else. So even though they said they would come back to me before selling those properties to someone else, that didn't happen. And I think part of that was that I was really open and honest about the fact that, I'm newer in investing. This is where I'm getting the money from. I don't have all of the 15% down payment that you're looking for all 4 properties. And so I think, in a sense, it was important to be honest and upfront, but at the same time, it could have potentially worked against me.
Gotcha. So, what would you say has changed about who you are since you started down this path? Like, how do you think this process has made you a different person?
Hmm. Um, I think it's well, I think it's really sort of opened my eyes to what the potential is in real estate investing. I think when I first started, I was very much thinking, single family, multifamilies. And now that's sort of grown to, hey, it's totally doable to own 24, 36 unit property, in and of itself, versus trying to get to that buying, triplexes and quads. It's very doable. It's really sort of opened my eyes to the potential and the accessibility of real estate investing, and in pursuing those larger properties.
So, expanding your vision.
Yes, I think so. I mean, I want to keep that potential open. Certainly want to pursue that, possibly with the right partners. And with the prices having increased the way they have at this point in 2022, my purchase of, what was it, $495,000 for the 8 units, that has nearly doubled in value so far. And so, even just looking at, okay, well, I've got all this equity sitting there. What can I do with that at this point? So, so the potential is there. I'm not exactly sure what that next step is going to be, but certainly looking at that now.
Great. And did you discover anything about yourself that surprised you?
Um, hmm. The first thought that came to mind was just the ability to learn the real estate investing techniques and tools fairly easily and quickly. And it does take some application, applying yourself and really kind of digging in and understanding it. But utilizing it, I feel, is actually much simpler than I anticipated. And so I'm excited that utilizing them excites me, and that it works.
Great. Um, Almost to the last question. I want you to imagine yourself 5 years from now. How has your life changed?
I think we'll be in a different house. I think um, we will certainly own at least twice as many units, if not more. And, um, I don't think we'll have a lot of the financial concerns that we currently have today. I think with what the business that I'm building, separate business that my wife is building, that will be, we'll be okay. We'll be able to grow our family, and the family will be okay, and we'll have something that can be um, a bit of a legacy passed down, to another generation, and you know support the growth of a child or kids, and their education, their development, they're starting out in life. And I think that really feeds into what we think of as the American dream, being able to go to work, put invest time and energy and money, and have the rewards that come with that, and being able to pass that down as well. So we're super excited about all of that.
Fantastic. So, what advice do you have to offer to others?
Hmm. Um, uh, if I was to name two things, I would say definitely get the training and education, because even though I alluded to the fact that um, you know it has been described, real estate investing has been described as not as easy as it sounds, maybe a little challenging. It's good to have the information on hand, and people can sense when you're not as sure about what you're doing. So you want to be able to present that confidence. You want to be able to have that intelligent conversation, that you know what you're doing, and they're going to be far more interested in working with you. And because when it comes down to the offers, if you're in a situation with multiple offers, it's not always about who offers more. Sometimes it really is about what what that connection is, what feeling and confidence that you've conveyed to both the seller and or the seller's agent. Um, so having that knowledge, having the training is really important. And then the second one is being willing to take the chance. Being willing to take the chance. You don't necessarily want to put yourself in a situation where you lose money. Again, that's where the training and education comes in, being able to identify that. But being willing to take the chance and step out and believe in the training, believe in the trainers, and see that um, the fruits of that labor come to pass. I think is really important. So those are two things that I would mention.
Great. With Lance Edwards, this is Kristen Crabtree. Please join us again when we interview our next department champion. If you'd like to learn how to be our next department champion, please call our office at 281 667-3638. You're only one deal away.